if biologically your body is not open and not ready or not suitable for these different types of medicines, you are not going to have a good time. And if you are not screened properly, that's where things can go incredibly wrong. But beyond
Right.
that, you need to go through preparation. Going inwards is not easy. We go through life, we take on our experiences, and for people that have been through complex trauma, they're generally in survival from young childhood right through to whatever age they are now in adulthood. And if they're
Right.
not prepared adequately and they have these medicines and they end up going in and just relive everything they've ever seen in their life,
Mm.
well, where's the support in that? Where's the ethical practice in that? There's not. And that's really why I'm such a huge advocate for the clinical guardrails, like you talked about, of supporting people properly through the screening, through the preparation, through the dosing, and then through the integration. And integration is arguably one of the most important parts of this medicine journey.
Yeah.
You can go off and have a psychedelic. It is not therapeutic unless you do something with what you've seen, with what you've taken away, with what message was in that for you.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, um, I went through a lot of those checks beforehand as well. Like we had, because I went essentially I had moved away for several years. I like started different businesses, and like everything was like super anxious driven, fun, but like also super anxious driven. Like you're trying to
Mm.
figure out if the company's going to have money next month, if you have to fire somebody, then now I have to move locations again. Like there was just constant anxiety around me for those several years. And so when I came back, I had someone else in the entrepreneur community who had done this, who had seen, no, a few guys who I considered to be quite level headed, who had excellent experiences. One of the guys sent their dad through it and said, Mike, he was a 75-year-old Romanian man. He came out 40% nicer and 30% less racist. And it was
Wow.
unbelievable. And so we had these sort of conversations where I was like, okay. And the people I went to were therapists. And we had a set and setting conversation. We had several therapy sessions to say, what are you here to do this for? So to your point, I went through all of those checks, but still came out with an unsavory, because even though the experience was quite fraught, I found it super fascinating and I learned a lot almost immediately. Like I came out the next day, I was doing integration and journaling, and I felt like I had a perspective on life and the world that I just couldn't access before.
Did you
However,
implement any of your learnings?
yeah, completely. I mean,
Okay.
we'll get to that in a second, but
Sure.
yeah, but afterwards, because of all the anxiety that was coming up, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I wasn't sleeping well anyway, and then it made it even worse. Um, it was brutal. It was really, really, really brutal. And so, again, to your point, I really would recommend people, if they're going to try these substances, to find someone that is trained, that is really judicious for how safe the environment's going to be. But
Hmm.
before we go back to integration, how would you? So Australia is one of the only places where this is legal. In Canada, ketamine's legal. I still don't know what my views are on ketamine, but what if someone really has some issues that they want to try this, but they don't have access to something like your conscious clinic in Queensland? How do they? Because I don't think for them the option to not do it would suffice. So how would someone go about attempting to step into this world very safely, even though maybe it's not above ground legal, as you're saying?
There are a number of retreats that are run by doctors, that are run by psychiatrists, that are run by
Mm,
trained, qualified psychologists, therapists that have been upskilled in this area to really hold that safe container. Some of those are around Europe, Peru, South America, places like that. So there is a website and an organisation in Australia doing amazing work called Mind Medicine Australia. They have a list on their website of safe and approved retreat settings that people can go to to actually be
Okay.
held in a safe container by qualified professionals in legal form settings.
Okay. Mind Medicine Australia.
Yep, I can give you the link for your show notes.